Aloha and welcome to The Art of Life. I'm your host Willow Chang. We're broadcasting here in the heart of downtown at Pioneer Plaza, down in the basement. We're on the air every Friday from 2 to 3, and if I'm not here, I can guarantee you the gentleman will find something worth your time and your effort to watch. Thank you for joining us. This is the second of the last Fridays of 2013, for those of you who are keeping track. I had another guest scheduled, but unfortunately due to a death in her spiritual family as of yesterday, we are going to have her on at another point in time. But that unfortunate incident was the impetus to create today's show, and my hope and my intention is that this is something that's very helpful to all of our viewers out there, regardless of what time of year it is. Life is so very short and fleeting, and impermanence is probably the only thing that we can count upon. It's something that I both embrace and I debate on a daily basis because it's probably the most challenging element of the human experience, is that our time is short and fleeting and that change is the only constant. And if you like things to be consistent or familiar or unchanging, well, you're kind of out of luck. So here we are, right on the cusp of the holiday season. Regardless of your spiritual affiliation, I think it is safe to say that worldwide, this is a time of year when people look at the end of the year and they take into account their lives, what they have done this year, where they feel their life is going. They reflect on things that happened that were positive, and they reflect on things that might be under the ledger as loss. It's sometimes very challenging when we live in this world where we put a great value and emphasis on happiness and external means of showing happiness, and it may feel that when the world is collectively happy, and if you are not humming on that same frequency, it's perhaps pause for the cause to feel even more lonely. But I'm hoping that some of these things that we can share, me and my 10 personalities, will give you some insight on ways to infuse a little more peace and comfort in your life on a daily basis and not strictly for the holidays. So this is my show and tell for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get our first image up. This is with the apologies to the Charles M. Schulz estate, but I think that this picture succinctly sums up how many people have felt at some point in the holidays. Poor old Chuck. Dear old Charlie Brown, he is crestfallen. His little wimpy tree can't even support the weight of a singular ornament. But as we know from that wonderful Christmas tale, it is about the joy of giving and the celebration of the individual and therefore the community that brings Chuck's spirits up. We have to remember that it is not always an external means of showing joy or wealth that we can derive happiness. So even though you might feel like Charlie Brown, I hope you know that there is always a silver lining to every gray cloud, even when things are hard. The holidays are a challenging time because it's when friends and family gather near, as the Christmas song goes. But if you are emotionally, if you are strained or estranged from family or loved ones, if there's physical distance, if there's emotional distance, if someone has crossed over, that might feel like a hard thing to do. But remembrance and focusing on the positive, this is our essential gifts that we all are capable of, and I hope that you use that as your guide to bring you some peace. We're going to look at our next image. So here is a picture that I took on the way to St. Gallen. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I was there about 2.5 weeks ago in Switzerland, and it was a snowy day, and I thought that the skeletal trees were very arresting in their beauty, and some might find this sad, but if you can look closer, which is hard to do because it's a small image, there are still leaves on that tree. And the tree, although it is bare and exposed, is never dead. It is simply in a state of repose and rest until the spring comes. And so you can always think of the winter season as the same type of thing, where you might be in repose and rest, in reflection. And you know, in the spring, things are going to blossom and renew all over again to some degree. So that was the image. Our next image, also taken in St. Gallen, was taken at a cathedral. So Yes, I'm one of those people when I go on a travel or journey. I like to go into temples and synagogues and mosques and churches and cathedrals and what have you, and pay homage to the divine. And here we have some little candles. And I also have a candle with me. Friends, it's not hard to find a candle. It's easier in Europe. They're pretty plentiful. But here we have candles out in Hawaii. And I would encourage you, because you don't have to have cold weather to celebrate a candle, when you're at home, designate a safe place free from the draft. Make sure you have the area clear so you don't burn your house down. But light a candle. Light a candle in remembrance of people who've passed. Light a candle to think of those who are going through challenging times. We have no shortage of difficult things, from the typhoon to whatever type of things are going on in Syria or over here at home. So the act of lighting a candle is your own way of adding light to the world. I would encourage you to do that. Just don't burn down the house. Our next image also involves light. And these are luminaries that you can find all throughout Germany and Switzerland. But surprisingly enough, you can find them right here in Hawaii. So if you go to the Super Swap Meet out at the stadium, there's always often one vendor who sells these star-shaped paper lanterns that are punched with holes of different patterns, lacy filigrees. They come with a light bulb. It's pretty affordable, inexpensive. It doesn't suggest any time of year. You certainly can use this in June or March or December. And these are often hung in the window in Europe, but you can hang them in your house or at a party. And it's the celebration again of light. So bringing the light into your house, thus bringing the light into your heart. These are just simple things of an external nature that can maybe bring a little more joy and peace, comfort into your dwelling. Our next picture here is a variation of a rose window. It's not a large rose window that you would see at Chartres or any of those magnificent cathedrals, but this is something a little more understated given the nature of the church. And this again also in St. Gallen. So we have the significance of the cross as well as the floral element. And where these windows are located, they take full advantage of the sunlight coming through and creating illumination. Now, I am a child of the 70s. And I do have great memories as a child that there would be these decals that you could put on your windows that were of often unicorns and rainbows, but I encourage you to go and seek something out like this, whether it's actual stained glass or even if it's colored cellophane. If you want to use a little rubber cement and stick it on your window, you might think, oh, that's for children, I would never do that. Well, what's wrong with being a child? What's wrong with enjoying the beauty of light going through color and illumination? I say give it a try. And when you have something like rubber cement, it's very low commitment. You can just roll that stuff right off. So that's kind of my thought on the matter. Different ways to bring light, from the candle to a lamp to something actually on your window pane. See how you can use the light and bring it into your life on a daily basis. Before we change images, I have, this is falling apart in transit. I bought this at the equivalent of a dollar store in Duisburg. It's battery operated. And there are these little lights. I just thought these were the coolest thing possible. And each of them has, again, like a perforated punch out of a metal. It's supposed to, I think, suggest brass. Obviously, these are not brass. But you see these types of lanterns all throughout the Maghreb. Clearly in Morocco, but also in Buddhist temples you see this similar type of filigree, and I thought this was really cool. So bringing light into your life does not have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It can be something as simple as little lights purchased at the dollar store or the craft shop. So those are some things to think about. We're going to take a little bit of a break. I hope to see you back after the break.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone Number 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, Think Tech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is Think Tech.
Aloha, my name is Dan Bauer and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza, our commanding skyline views, along with our award-winning cuisine and service, are known as the place to do business downtown. We offer professional as well as social events and programs to our members and their guests, all tailored to enrich their professional and personal lives and to give them the cutting edge that they deserve in business. Why don't you consider becoming a member of the club? Call me at 531-7788 or come see me and let's talk business and how the Plaza Club can work for you. Again, my name is Dan Bauer. I'm the General Manager of the club and I'm here for you.
Welcome back to The Art of Life here on Think Tech Hawaii. I'm your host, Willow Chang Alion, and today's topic involves sacred practices and things that you can do to help lift the spirits and also infuse the spirit of the sacred into your life. One of the things that I mentioned in the earlier segment is that during the holiday season, when there's a great external emphasis placed on joy and happiness, sometimes people who are not quite feeling that tend to feel more isolated, depressed, and down. These are just a few simple ways to infuse maybe a little more peace into your life, and I hope that you can find that they'll be useful throughout the year, regardless of what season it is. Sometimes when people aren't feeling really well, something you'll often hear is, I feel numb, I feel dead to the world, I feel unmotivated, uninvolved, I don't feel anything. When you are sensing this type of response, what I would say to counter that is to infuse the sensual back into your life. One of the greatest things we have as the human experience is our ability to engage the senses in our daily life. It might sound like a very debaucherous activity and a hedonistic approach, but if you can't enjoy your senses, well then, what's the purpose? That would pretty much make you a robot. So, let's look at our first picture here. You're probably wondering what the heck those things are. They are not shish kebab, friends. They are sweets. They are chocolates, and these are photographs of chocolates that were for sale at the winter market in, I believe this, 3 euros. Okay, that was in Germany. So you might think, oh my goodness, I could never do that. How sinful, my figure, my waist, I'm gonna gain weight, I'm gonna get fat. You know what? Have the damn chocolate. You live once. And I'm not saying that you have to be a gluttonous person and you have to blow everything and, go off the deep end, but limiting yourself from things that are wonderful, whether it's your mom's pie or your brother's fantastic turkey dinner or an extra piece of chocolate. I mean, come on, folks, it's really not the end of the world. Have a healthy relationship with eating and enjoy the sensuous practice of eating. And to that I would add mindful eating. So express a thought of gratitude before you start that meal. You don't have to formally say grace. It can be an internal process. You can just think, I'm grateful for this meal. I'm grateful for this opportunity to have sustenance, to have food. You know, I don't want to tell you what to do. These are just some ideas, but they are tried and true practices that have been practiced throughout time by many different cultures and many different people. So there's got to be something to it. So engage your senses. Here we have another picture of something really sensual. My goodness, if my memory serves me, this is not have an allergic reaction. I will give it a try. I'll usually sniff it first, and then if it smells good, I'll try it. I encourage you to do the same. Step outside of your comfort zone and try something new, or a variation of something you've already tried before. So, my 2 cents on the matter. Our next image involves the sense of scent. I had to touch my nose, just in case you're wondering what am I talking about. This is a picture of an incense burner that I bought in Eisendown. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I bought it in Switzerland at a small church shop with some frankincense. And my goodness, what an amazing experience it is. I'm an incense fan. I don't think that would shock anybody. I'm often a fan of the stick incense. It's a little easier to use and seemingly a little safer than the cone, maybe a little messier. But to rock it old school with the frankincense is just an amazing purification of the home, and again involves the senses. For those of you who are of the Catholic faith, perhaps you grew up with this tradition of having the incense and the frankincense swung side to side, but not limited to the Catholic tradition. Many practices of faith use incense, and even if you don't subscribe to one organized religion, you can use sage or scented candles or other things to infuse your house. Even flowers, my goodness, we're in Hawaii, the land of the flower. So this is something to consider. Even baking cookies in your house is going to make everything smell tasty and warm and toasty. So if you haven't indulged in your senses, and especially your sense of scent, please, this is the invitation to do so. You got a nose, you might as well use it. And think of this, when you have a cold and you cannot smell, how incredibly miserable eating and everything else is. That is a true testament to how powerful the sense of scent is. If you have any doubts, you can read the works of Proust, and there's also scientific journals that clearly state the link between memory and of scent. So that might be something for you to explore and take comfort in. Moving right along. This is an image that I took in Kauai earlier this year, and there was a torrential rainstorm. And I loved the sound of the rain. The rain is a very sensual experience and a cleansing experience. So you can hear the rain, you can feel the rain. I guess you could taste the rain if you want to, and you certainly can smell the rain. Take delight in the beauties of what the world has to offer, the natural world. I'm not saying that if your house is leaking, maybe it's not as enjoyable, but the rain is something to take into account, or a sunset, any of these things. There's no shortage and no greater perfection than the natural world. So if you're feeling disconnected, and if you're feeling disassociative with the human tribe, you can always go back and fall on your family of nature, right? Whether that's animals or natural experiences, there's always ways to feel connected. That's perfectly fine and legitimate, something to think about. And you might find infinite joys there. You just don't know. Take your camera, go for a walk, take some sketches, join the Sierra Club, go for a swim. These things rarely cost money, and they are abundant. And maybe it might help lead you into some activism to be stewards for the planet and take care of our ailing planet. So, the natural experience. Next image, Maestro. Okay, now we're into the realm of more traditional figurines and, wait, yes. Here we have a picture again in Kauai. This was at the Hindu temple, and this is Ganesha. Even if you aren't a Hindu, Ganesha is your friend. He's the elephant-headed god who removes obstacles and difficulties in the course of action. So here we have the Action of Puja, which is an offering. And there are flowers and money and all kinds of fruits and wonderful things. This might be something that you would want to have in your own home, a little image of Ganesha or a designated space where you can offer thanks. I'm going to show you this. I'm not going to say who, but there's a certain department store that sent this in the mail with coupons. It's my happy place. And I love that on the very front of it, it says, thank you. And I was about to chuck this and throw this in the trash, and I thought, no. I like that. This is wonderful. This, if you have students, they can tape this in their locker. You can put it in your folder. One of the things I like to do is I like to take things of inspiration, and I like to just get a little Scotch tape, and I hide them in little things, the lid of a box. Maybe something in the box, maybe inside of your medicine cabinet, maybe inside of a shoebox, maybe it's in your glove box, and when you're looking for your papers for the DMV, you find a little memo that says thank you or what have you. It sounds really silly, but you know what? It's a nice way to remind yourself of something that's significant and important. So, there we go. Thank you. Okay, our next image, Maestro. Now, this is not procured by the NSA. I took this picture of these two lovebirds who were at the winter market in Basel. And I love the fact that even though you might think there's space and physical distance, they are still holding hands. And I'll tell you, there's something very delightful about hand holding, whether it is with your paramour or your spouse, your children. There's something about being connected and that loving sense of being tethered that's very comforting. If you haven't held hands with somebody recently, well, again, here's your invitation to do so. I think one of my fondest memories as a child is that when I would be walked across the street, my mother or my father would take my hand and ensure that I was safe. Now, there's no guarantee that a Mack truck couldn't come and run us over, but you know what? That sense of security and that feeling of warmth and feeling protected and loved comes across from the simple action of holding hands. If you're not into holding hands and someone you know has a clammy hand, which is never a picnic, you can always lock arms, do-si-do your partner. When I was a teenager, I used to hang on my mother's shoulder. That was the way I compensated as a teenager, like I don't want to hold my mom's hands, I'm just going to hang on her body. So there's variations. I'm not saying it's one size fits all, but having physical connection is certainly a very bona fide way to feel connected. I want you to think about that. We're going to take a small break and we'll be right back. This is The Art of Life on Think Tech Hawaii, and I'm Willow Chang Leon.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Aloha and welcome back to The Art of Life. I'm Willow Chang Leon, finishing up the third segment of today's show, which involves bringing in sacred practices into your life to bring you peace and joy, not only during the holiday season, perhaps on a daily basis. So my hope is that some of these things are helpful. Certainly not all of these are my own ideas. I study these things with great frequency from many people who've taught me over the years, and I encourage you to do the same. Find something that's truthful, that resonates with you on a personal level, and I think you will reap the benefits of it. So, I'm looking here at my table here of show and tell. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you that when I was a child, I absolutely loved show and tell. I even remember in kindergarten when Mrs. Lau said we were going to have show and tell, and she explained what it was. I just thought it was the coolest thing. I probably lugged half of my home to class and explained what things I thought were great and groovy. So obviously nothing has changed. I want to show you something very briefly. This is something I do when I go on travels. It's a fairly recent approach or structured approach that I have to traveling, and that is before I go on my trip, I designate a notebook that's going to be the place that I try to store the different ideas and thoughts and what have you, and then I get a little crazy with my glue stick and I glue on things on top of it. And this one was the trip to both Greece and Switzerland, and so inside here I have different images and pictures from the travels. They might be flyers from clubs or things I've seen. They might be literature from churches or museums. I create these collages. You do not have to be an art school graduate to do something like this. This is assemblage, if you want to like get down to it, right? I go into the museum and I take sketches provided that they allow pencils in, and you know, these are not going to be bringing in big bucks of Sotheby's or whatever, but it's something that's really fun to do. Illustrations of trees. I write reflections of things either on the plane or when I have a moment to just think. So later I can kind of get a capture of where I was, my heart and my mind at the time that the trip was taken. As you can tell, I like to write. I make a list. Here I have something. These were things that I could hear between 7:45 to 8 a.m. on June 28th. A bird squawking, footsteps on cobblestone, a zipper zipped, the clearing of a throat, cats meowing, bells ringing, a fly buzzing by, parentheses, which was a bee. So this was in Athens. It was in the morning, and I closed my eyes and I listened to all the things that I could hear, and I wrote about it. And these are the kinds of things that, again, by bringing you back to the senses, you can truly enjoy a place. I'm also a big fan of making lists. So these are lists of all the things that I had noticed about Greece that I thought were distinctly Grecian in nature. Fair squeezed orange juice, sandals, lots of them, live music on the streets and good music, fresh bread, making magic with less, a devil make hair attitude. So I encourage you to do this. You do not have to travel to a faraway place. You can create a notebook that reflects your daily existence, and don't beat yourself up thinking, oh my God, I didn't do it today, I'm a bad person, I suck. Do it when you feel like it. Granted, any practice benefits with consistency, but I would encourage you, in our digital world, there's something very satisfying about going back to pen and paper and gluing pictures. It doesn't have to be written things. You can have illustrations, you can have pictures, what have you, but this is something that I think you might find to be of value if you want to give that a try. Before we go to images, I just want to get through some of these items here because I don't want to actually bring them back to the studio. Another thing that I like to do is I like to have these small little boxes. They're interspersed throughout my house. Yes, I like tchotchkes, but I like things that are aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. So therefore I probably don't buy very much at Ross. You know what I mean? This is a cast iron box from Japan with the crane, which is a symbol of longevity. And I don't think you can see in here, but these are just odds and ends and doodads, bells and coins. And this was a Christmas ornament that my dog just decided to chew up yesterday. And instead of throwing it away, I thought, okay, I'm just going to put it in the box. And there doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason. It can be a matchbox, a shoebox. It's kind of like that junk drawer, everyone has one. You just throw in these elements, and then later when you open it up, it's like a little treasure trove, and it helps jog your memory. And you say, where did I get this blue conical shell, right? where did I get this Japanese keychain? Did someone give this to me? Was it something that I bought? So this is something that everybody can do, and you don't really have to spend any money. You just throw your little doodads in the box, these little magic boxes, and see what happens. Moving right along, the bell. Now, last night I saw, probably for my 501st time, It's a Wonderful Life. We might have to dedicate a show on that wonderful movie and that cinematic masterpiece, also known as Capricorn, as in Frank Capra, not the zodiac sign. And at the end of the movie, of course, she says, "Look, Daddy, a teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings." Sorry, I was like going in between two voices there. And the idea of the bell as creating a clearance of energy is something, again, pretty universal. Picked up this bell on my travels, got it at the winter market for €7 from a Tibetan lady in Basel. And I just thought, this is just, it's such a delightful, easy thing to have, whether you have a little bell on a keychain like this, right? Or a little bell in your house. Ring that bell. You can ring my bell. Little disco reference there. But find a bell that makes your heart sing. Every bell is at a different pitch. Some bells are just downright irritating, let's be frank, like the bell in the phones when you go to a hotel, or the bell of a fire alarm. Not very pleasant. That's by design. They're trying to wake you up and literally get you moving. So when you have a table of bells, be that crazy person. I have no problem. I ring every single bell. I am serious. I ring every single bell, just like when you're at the eye doctor and they check your lenses, and listen to the bell that you feel you can live with and that you're actually going to enjoy. It's not about acquiring a bell just because I said get a bell. You need to find the bell that actually resonates with you, that you like. Otherwise, it defeats the whole purpose. And if you have a high-pitched bell and you're not a high-pitched kind of person, chances are that thing's going to irritate you to no end. So this was the tone that I liked. It was kind of mellow with a little bit of a higher intonation at the top. I don't know how well the audio is on this, but that's something to think about. Now we're going to take our last break and we'll be right back to finish up, but stay tuned. You are watching The Art of Life.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
Aloha and welcome back to The Art of Life. I'm Willow Chang Alion here at Think Tech Hawaii, where we air this show every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. If you have questions or concerns, you're welcome to drop me a line on Facebook at Willow Chang Dance, or you can send your emails and inquiries, rants and raves to thinktechhawaii.com, and our producer is Mr. J. Fidel. So, yay for us. Okay, I've got a lot of things to cover and not a lot of time, so forgive me if this seems rushed, but I want to make sure we can get to some of these other approaches to infuse the sacred into your everyday life for the holiday season and beyond. Our next image here, look at this guy, isn't he cute? Now, once upon a time, I used to think it was ludicrous to put sweaters on dogs. That's until I started putting sweaters on my own dogs. In their defense, I have dogs that get cold. I have an Italian Greyhound, and they only have one coat of fur, so the t-shirt helps. And in this doggy's defense, well, it's about 28 degrees, so that sweater comes in pretty handy. Why am I showing you a picture of a dog in a sweater? Because animals help bring out, hopefully, our best self. Even if you do not have the time and the energy to be a caretaker of an animal, there's many ways that you can enjoy animals, whether it's something passive like watching a documentary on National Geographic or Nova, going to your local zoo, an aquarium, hearing a lecture, volunteering at the Humane Society, visiting the cats at the cat house, or hanging out with your friends and their dogs at the dog park. Well, these are all domesticated animals. You could go for a horseback ride, you could go on a whale watch, you could listen to the birds, right? There's many ways to enjoy the natural world and the animal kingdom. So if you find that you're feeling down and you're feeling blue and feeling sorry for yourself, remember, there's a whole world out there that are not even people, that animals that can use our good intentions and our efforts to protect and nurture them, and certainly our respect. So that's my 2 cents on animals. Yay! Moving right along. We have a lot of things here. Now, this is a picture of a small child, Kleinkinder. And she was right outside the snack shop at the winter market in Duisburg, and she was having a meltdown of mass proportions. She was wailing and crying and stomping her feet, and that's probably the primal urge that everyone feels when they don't get what they want and things don't go their way. You want to have an external explosion of energy. As we get older as adults, we may not have that luxury. The thing that was really surprising is once that energy is expressed, suddenly, for no apparent reason, the child is back to normal and going on about its daily business. And I just am putting that out there for you to think about, that even when things seem hard, the transient nature of life, the impermanence of life, is that it is only temporary. Disappointment is temporary. Heartache is temporary. It changes and it morphs. It may never go away, but it does change. It does evolve. It turns into something different. So that's what this picture of the small child is she was having a meltdown. Oh, yes, she was. But 3 minutes later, she was laughing and running around and playing with her sister. So go figure, right? Something to think about. The next image is something that I'm really fond of. Is I like taking pictures of things that are found. I have an aversion to things that are staged because there are so many things that are amazing in its natural state. And when I was walking throughout the churches in Zurich, I looked on the ground and I came across this small paper heart that was on the asphalt, and I thought, well, if that isn't a photo, I don't know what is. It's screaming to be taken a picture of. And it really made me think of a meditation, which is perception, perspective, and that there are messages out there if we are open to them. This day that I was strolling by myself was 2 days before I was about to come back to Hawaii. I was processing a lot of information, a lot of experiences, taking into account what's going on in my life. And it was cold and I was alone, and these are all things that make it very easy to kind of sometimes float on a sea of sadness or feel a little sad or a little down. And I looked down and I saw this heart, and my interpretation is it's like, you know what? Love is all around us. You might think I sound like a hippie, but there are messages that are always present and around us, and all we have to simply do is open our eyes and our hearts to see what is out there. So it may not be as literal as a little paper heart on the pavement, but I ask of you to keep your mind and your heart open, whether it's in the waking world or in your dream world, to see what kind of messages are out there for you. because they are out there. Seriously. Moving right along. Isn't this so sure? So this is a sunset. I think that goes without saying. This was taken at the end of a dance retreat that I attended in Kauai, in a very sacred place. And, you know, there's something very beautiful about the end and the close of the day. Even if you have what you might consider a bad day, if you have a chance to see the sunset, there is a feeling of completion. There is the beauty of the end of that cycle. And there is the humility that you feel being, again, in the natural world. So if you are finding that you need something to kind of pick you up and it's from the external realm, I would say watch the sunrise or watch the sunset or even look at the stars, because it's an infinite source of inspiration. And it's something very humbling. It's something that also keeps you in contact with generations before you. Before the day of Facebook and YouTube, I can trust that our elders went and they saw the sunrise and the sunset and they looked at the stars and they coped with many of the same human issues and problems that we have today. Not a lot has changed in the human world if you think about it. It's going to be pretty consistent. So that's the idea behind this image. Beautiful gray clouds set against a golden sun, and look at the contrast, the beauty of the light and the dark. You need to have one to show the beauty of the other, and there is beauty in the dark, right? Something to think about. Moving right along. Here we have a lotus. This is actually technically a water lily, and I took this photo in Kauai. And although it technically is not the same as a lotus, it is a water lily, I wanted to share the significance of the lotus for our viewers out there who may be unfamiliar, because the lotus has great symbolic meaning as found in the Hindu and also the Egyptian beliefs and the Buddhist traditions. So check it out. This is the lotus bud. This is the water, right? My dance students will recognize this. Here is the lotus bud. It is deep in the mud. The mud, being the metaphor for life, is dark, it's cold, it's dirty, maybe it's unpleasant. But the bud pushes through all of those things. It pushes through. It keeps going towards the light. It gets past the water. It gets past, and it opens up, right? In our dance, this is called Alapadma. If you've done classical Indian dance, this is the lotus blossom. It is the flower that is tight and that is opening up by pushing through the experiences of life that might be challenging. Think of your life as such a way, because when you push through the dark and the hard, you open up to the beauty. Let's see what we have. We only have a few more moments and a few more images. I want to just leave you with this idea of perspective. You might feel alone, just like this khaki. That's what it's called. We know it as a persimmon. In Southeast Asia and Asia, they call it a khaki. You think, I am all alone in this destitute world. I'm all by myself. And no one understands me. Nobody relates to me. But let's look at perspective. Let's look at the next image. Aha! No, no, no! There are many khaki on the branch. There are many khaki on the tree. You think I'm crazy at this point, and I'm okay with that. But you know what? When I was taking these photos in Switzerland, I thought, this is what perspective is. You think that you're alone, you're the only persimmon on the branch, nobody relates to you, but if you pull back and you look, everyone is going through their own variation of the same thing. We all have hard times. We all have moments when we don't feel connected. We feel disconnected. We have disappointments. We have joys. We have great loves. We have misunderstandings. This is what it is to experience life in its fullest state. How do you cope with it and how do you deal with it? Herein lies the rub. Bring in your senses. Bring in your gratitude. Bring in your reflection. Nurture your creative self, because what else are we here for? I think we have time perhaps for one more image, maybe. Let's check it out. I'm going to scratch my chin. Yes. The beauty and the divinity of the rose. This was taken in California. You have some dew, and this is at the famous Rose Bowl, where I was snooping around looking for bargains at the famous flea market. And this radiant rose just spoke to me. And I just thought, how beautiful is this? Even if I didn't find a single bargain or something to take home, I have the memory of this amazing rose, this beautiful rose, the beauty of nature, right? So I'm hoping that some of those things were helpful. The last thing on my table that I want to share with you today, the sound of the vibrating, the healing vibrations of a singing bowl. Perhaps you have seen these at a Buddhist temple or perhaps a store that sells these items. We have a wooden mallet and we have a brass bowl. These can be played many ways, but by bringing this around the rim of the bowl, we thus have the vibration of a singing bowl. No finer way to change the energy than the singing bowl. And with this, I wish you a joyous holiday season, great abundance and wealth of the spirit, and peace in everything that you do today and every day after. This is The Art of Life. My name is Willow Chang Alion. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Hope to see you next week. Aloha and namaste.